Cindy on board. Hope here with your finance and admin overview for October 2024. I'm just going to go over a few high level things quickly. The 990 in the audit, the results from our first quarter, and a quick staffing update. Starting with our audit and 990, I would ask that you all take some time to review them in Boardable. We are going to ask for approval at the October 21st meeting in Chicago. We did receive a clean audit opinion, which is great, and there were no material weaknesses in internal controls identified. Our financial position put us at total assets of $4.84 million, up from around $4 million, and our net assets increased to $4.23 million. Cash and cash equivalents remain strong at just around $3.5 million. Looking a little further into that cash, at the beginning of the year, we started with $3.3 million. We had a change in cash and cash equivalents this year of about $134,000, which put our cash at the end of the year at right around $3.5 million. I will note that within this $3.5 million, our sustainability reserve target is fully funded at $500,000, and our operating reserve, which is 3 months operating funds, is fully funded as well at $900,000. We have $336,000 in restricted funds, mostly restricted to the Department of Impact and Innovation and the research work, but that still puts $1.7 million cash in excess of all our reserve funds. Audit and 990 revenue and support. So our total revenue, if you look at the audit and the 990, appears that it nearly doubled from $15 million in 2023 to $30 million in 2024. This significant increase in contributions is really from non-financial assets. So those were from donations made to us, product donations made to us that we have to then list on the 990 according to the value the donor assigns to it. I will show you a little bit more about that in the next slide. The bulk purchasing program revenue increased from $8.4 million in the previous year to over $10 million in sales. And the revenue without in-kind and purchasing, so if we take out those two really major programs and lines, our revenue would be $4.9 million. We did receive a seedlings pledge for research of $1.5 million in 2023, and it was $500,000 for 3 years. We have to fully recognize this in the year that it was pledged. Accounting principles require the full amount of unconditional pledges to be recognized as revenue when the pledge is made, even if the cash is received in future periods. So what that will mean is that we did receive the $500,000 in 2023. We had $500,000 current. It was actually just received last week. And then we have $500K in non-current. It's going to be an accounts receivable as a promise to give, but it all did need to be recognized last year, which had a pretty big effect on our audit and our 990. Going back to in-kind product donations, here you can see this huge jump that we had this year in the amount of product, not only the amount of product donated just in general, but particularly when it came to period underwear. Those period underwear have a very high value associated with them. And we did distribute almost 1 million pairs of Thinx underwear at a value of around $10 is what we recognize it at, which added an additional over $10 million to that in-kind donation, putting the total value of these product donations last year at around $15 million. On the expense side, our total expenses increased 15 to 29 million. Again, that is very much associated with that in-kind product because the in-kind product is both donated to us and then we put it right back out. You'll see the same line amount both on the income and the expense side. We also had 9.6 million in bulk purchasing program expenses. So if you removed, again, those two programs, you would see expenses without them of around $3.8 million. Administrative and fundraising expenses really remain stable. And when looking at the budget versus actual, the budget for the year was a deficit of $525,000. Our forecast that I had given you, I believe in our last June meeting was that we were expecting about $100,000 surplus, and that was mostly due to the buying and the donation programs doing really well. But we then added in that $1 million pledge, which brought our net income to $1.1 million. So here's our actuals versus budget, and you can see here's our deficit in the first line here. That was what we expected. And then here's our actual. So we have that 1 million in accounts receivable that we had to recognize under direct public support. And then you could see the buying program and the donation program did very strongly here, which is why we saw that surplus. Moving over from last year's financials that ended on June 30th to our current year financials, we did just end our first quarter on September 30th. Those reports are onboardable. I encourage you to take a look. Feel free to reach out with any questions you might have. It was a quiet quarter. On the income side, contributions are under budget. Tamara will address this in her deep dive that she's going to do in Chicago on Tuesday. The purchasing program is also a bit under budget. We really think this is also just associated with timing and a couple things going on. Our largest purchaser, Community Food Bank of New Jersey, is experiencing some staffing changes. So we think that they're just, a little off in the past couple months, but they're going to pick right back up. Also, the two major hurricanes did have impact on purchasing for those Southeast members. And as well as a lot of our diaper banks do get state funding, which we know ends in September. So they'll probably just holding out to that gets renewed in October. So we just think a lot of timing things going on affecting that program. But nothing we are worried about. And we did drop the margin so significantly in that program that even if the numbers aren't what we expect, it won't have a major impact on our revenue for the year. The donation program, however, which is Kimberly-Clark donating product to NDBN and us distributing it to our member network for an administration fee, that is stronger than ever. We have already brought in $385,000 of the budgeted $600,000 for the year in the first quarter alone. This is not just great on the revenue side for us. This is great for the entire network as they are just getting more product in their facilities than they ever have before. So we're really thankful about that. And expenses overall under budget in many categories. That's again just a timing thing. We always see a pretty quiet Q1 and then things really uptick usually in Q3 and Q4. Here you can see our actuals after quarter one versus our full year budgets. You can see that our net income is at a deficit of $26,000 versus the full year $648,000 deficit, which is planned to spend down some of that cash in excess. So everything's in a good place right now. The very last thing I'd like to go over is just where our staffing is at right now. So the stars you're going to see on these charts are positions that we're going to be hiring for, and the hearts are recently filled positions. So you can see here the program department, we will be hiring for a chief of national member services in the coming months, and we'll talk more about that at the board meeting. We have two new folks in the program department, Carly Efron, program manager, and Brandon Selig-Vota, membership manager. Notable that these folks both came from the member network. Brandon worked at Happy Bottoms and Carly worked at a program out in Maine. The External Affairs Department, you can see, also has two new folks. Ariana Smith, Manager of Legislative Policy, has just joined us in the past week. She is from Massachusetts. And Annie Pastors, the Legislative Coordinator. Legislative Coordinator is a new position. We did plan to roll that out in January. However, Annie was actually our intern in the summer, and she did such a great job that we were able to offer her a part-time position as legislative coordinator starting in September. So we're very happy to have both of them on. And here are our other departments. So the development department has an open position. The director of major giving, formerly the director of philanthropy, that position is live right now, and Tamara and I will actually be doing interviews for that over the next 2 weeks. The Impact and Innovation department has grown, you can see here. We've added on Lynn Comer and Malaysia Williams. They were in the past in the programs department. We did shift them over to the Impact and Innovation department because as the evaluation team, we just felt that that was a better fit for them to be in this department. And finally, the administration team, no changes there at this point. But overall, this is what our staff looks like right now. And we are excited to see you all in Chicago. Thanks so much.